It matters that today you be a little bit better than you were yesterday. I think as adults, sometimes we forget to think about our dreams. It doesn't matter what anybody else around you is doing. It's about being proud of your accomplishment. I think the biggest difference between myself and other Olympians is that I had a certain dream of the way the Olympics would pan out, and it didn't happen. I didn't get to play in the final game. I didn't get to play in the biggest moment of my life. What I think for me, that it was a struggle initially, but I think in people's lives that happens to us a lot, that perhaps life doesn't turn out the way you want it to. And for me, it's trying to relay that message to my audience that I've been there where they are, and it's what you make of it. It's playing your role to the best of your ability. And I think that what I've really come to terms with is that your role really does matter. I didn't really know that I was different. I mean, I wasn't playing hockey to challenge the stereotype or to do something different. But this was more than 30 years ago in Winnipeg, and at the time it was unacceptable for girls to play hockey. Once I convinced my parents that I really wanted to play, they registered me as Sam Small, because that's my name. There was no little box to check that said male or female. And when we went to the first practice, my parents didn't really actually know that this was an all-boys sport. They were not hockey people. So they were kind of waiting for the other little girls to come, like, where are the other girls? And I was just skating out there having just a ball, a big smile on my face. And parents from the team started to come over to my parents and say things like, you have to get your daughter off the ice. Girls can't play hockey. And my parents looked and like, well, why? And the only answer that these people could come up with was, well, your daughter, she can't play in the NHL. My parents were like, your son's 5, neither can he. So it's interesting that my parents, they looked out and they could see this big smile that I had and decided at that moment that no matter what, they were going to support me. That they realized this might be a hard road, but they were there to be in my corner. And like I said, I didn't really know I was different. I was playing with my friends from the neighborhood. It wasn't until I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I was still playing forward in regular hockey because I hadn't convinced my parents yet that goaltending was the coolest thing to do. But I was playing forward. I was coming down the wing. I'm in a big game. I have the puck, and some gentleman from the stands yells at the top of his lungs. Now, probably a parent from the other team or something, somebody didn't know me. Yells, hey, little girl, you belong in the kitchen. I remember having the puck thinking, what am I supposed to do in the kitchen? Having no idea. I skated over the boards after my shift was done to ask my coach. I said, why is that man yelling at me to be in the kitchen? What's going on? And the poor older gentleman, with tears in his eyes, he looks down at me, and he can't tell me, and he says, I think you should ask your mother. So that's what I did, is on the way home I said, Mom, why was that man yelling at me that I belong in the kitchen? Why can't I be playing hockey? And she looked at me, and now my mother, with tears in her eyes, basically had to explain to her 8-year-old daughter that life was not fair. And she said there's going to be a lot of challenges, there's going to be a lot of obstacles, and sometimes it's not going to turn out the way you want it to turn out. But it's what you make of it. And it was really my first introduction to what has become my life motto, which in life you don't always get to choose the role you play, but you always get to choose how you play it. Well, I think there's a lot of Olympic speakers out there. Most talk about their accomplishments, and what I try to talk about is really the accomplishment of the team, in that we all have different roles to play on a team. And for me, I ended up being the goalie that didn't play in the final game. And it wasn't the way I envisioned my dream, but ultimately coming to the realization that every single person matters on a team. And I think I try to relate that to the audience, in that each time that you belong to a team, your role really does matter, and we don't always get to choose that role, but that we always get to choose how you play it.